Welcome to the 5 on 5. Tonight I'm joined by Dave Dotterrer, candidate for Oregon State Senate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here.
So you ran back in 2010 and it was a pretty close race then. What made you decide, hey, I'm going to try again?
Well, it's the same motivation that I had to run in the first place. I grew up in Oregon. I served in the Marine Corps for almost 30 years. I was gone, and when I came back, it was very, very clear to me that this is not the state that I grew up in, and I didn't like what I saw. And then I ran, and it was very, very close. I had a chance also to then go to the state legislature for the last 4 years and work in the state legislature for both of the Republican caucuses. So I saw both sides of the chambers, the two different chambers and all. And I watched what was going on, and I said, you know, this is also not right. There's a lot of things that we need to change. We need to change how we do business, and I decided I wanted to run again.
And you've said that one of your #1 priorities is providing jobs here in Southern Oregon. How would you go about doing that?
Well, we need to recognize that Southern Oregon is distinctly different than the rest of the state. We have an unemployment rate that's 25% higher. We have wages that are 20% lower. And it's what the state economist has talked about is we're actually starting to create two economies within the state of Oregon, which is one is urban and one is rural. And the state government and the legislature needs to address that issue. For example, if you look at the regulatory schemes that we have in this state, the larger corporations can deal with those in a much, much better way. But we don't have large corporations down here. We have all small businesses. And those regulations have a much greater impact on our small businesses down here, and therefore the job situation. And so what we need to do is we need to take a hard look at that. I believe we also need to take a hard look at where the economic development investment, we've seen a lot of economic development investment, because I watched the budget when I was up there, would go up to the urban areas. Portland would get a lot of them, and you're not seeing that money coming into the areas that really need it, the rural areas of Oregon, particularly Southern Oregon.
Okay. We'll be right back with much more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Again, I'm joined by Dave Dotterrer, candidate for Oregon State Senate. You have served 27 years in the U.S. Marines, so I guess first, thank you so much for your service. How does that translate to the political sphere? What skills do you bring that you believe would make you a good person for the job?
Yeah. Well, first off, one of the most important pieces is leadership, and leadership is something you learn as a military officer. It's in your DNA. It's your real job. You're there as a leader. Lots of other things you do, but you're there as a leader. And I believe that what I witnessed within the state legislature was a lack of leadership, the ability as a leader to take a look at what really needs to be done. For example, address the jobs issue in a rational, in a very, very systematic, strategic way, and then say, okay, so what really needs to be done to fix this job situation? That is something that I learned in the military, and it's real important. The other piece of this is working together with other people. I know that people sometimes think that, well, you were a colonel, so how much did you really have to, quote, work with people? You need to recognize that in the military you have 4 different services, and to make the military today, the U.S. military today is as good as it is just because we figured out how for the 4 services to work together and to make things fit. And that's another piece that I bring to the table.
You earlier indicated that there's a spending problem in the legislature. How do you plan to go about fixing it?
Well, let's go back to the leadership idea and the idea of strategic planning and setting your priorities. What you really are seeing in the state legislature is the budget process, and also in your state government is you're not seeing people sit down and say, okay, what are the most important things that we really, really need to fund, and how would we do that? And what are the policies that need to be funded to, for example, create jobs, as opposed to just, well, we'll put some money toward, we'll put $10 million toward a hotel in downtown Portland because that's economic development, as if downtown Portland needs that $10 million. We need it down here. Those are the kinds of things that I believe, that's our spending problem. We're going to see.
And you've told me you've done a lot of work going door to door. If somebody out there is wanting more information about you, your campaign, where can they go to get it?
I've got DaveDotterrer.com is my is my webpage. And you're right, I've been to 8,500 doors already, talked to lots of people, and this is where I'm getting my ideas about what really needs to be done and how we need to change how we do business in the state.
Okay, thank you so much for
You
joining
betcha.
us tonight.
All right.
Stay with us, we'll be right back.